Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Steam Deck OLED. This is before Rebirth, so the first one in the remakes of 7. Rebirth will be tested as soon as it releases in a couple of weeks from now. So when it comes to the remake intergrade, it's verified. So by verified, it means it's perfectly fine on Steam Deck, as you can see here. So let's get into it right away. So on the options menu, unfortunately, we have very little options. The screen goes from 720 to 4K, so we're locked to 16:9, black bars at the top and bottom of the screen, so you're not using the entire screen. Then when it comes to textures, low and high, we keep them on low. Same with shadows. Shadows on low still look great, at least in my opinion. Frame rate, you can cap it to 30, 60, 90 or 120. Why am I keeping this at 120? Well, by default it's at 30 FPS, but this option also affects the resolution. So by default the game at 30 will adjust the resolution depending on the load. So if you're dropping below 30 for any reason, the resolution will drop. If you keep this at 60, the game still doesn't reach the target frame rate, so it'll be blocky and won't hit 60s. I downloaded a mod, which is in the description. It's just dragging and dropping a file that completely disables dynamic resolution. Trust me on this one, I think it's a good idea you keep it like this. Characters displayed 3. And the rest is basically like it is. Once we are in handheld mode, I'll show you HDR as well. Welcome to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Again, we're waiting for Rebirth to come out. Around a week from now, Unreal Engine 4. Oh well, let's get ahead. Let's skip ahead on this one, no spoilers obviously. Drops into the 40s and some parts can drop into the upper 30s. It really depends on what's going on. But by itself, without dynamic resolution or anything, we're good to go. I'll show you a more demanding place as well, but I think the ideal frame rate for this one will be 45, at least for the OLED. And it's also, as far as I remember, compiling shaders in runtime. Personally, I don't think that's a big deal, but the first time you play it, if those shaders are not pre-compiled by Valve on SteamOS, you're probably going to get a stutter or two. But nothing like when it first came out, obviously. So while I'm showing you this, what about Rebirth? Well, Rebirth is significantly more demanding than this one. Apparently from what I've seen on the PS5 and all that, Rebirth is significantly more demanding. Still, I think with resolution, lowering the resolution, we can probably run it on Steam Deck. It'll look pretty pixelated, but hey, it might work. We'll see once it releases. But in the meantime, you can play this one. With unlocked frame rates, personally, I recommend you avoid it. I'll just lock it to 45. When it comes to this location, with heavy combat, we're usually good to go. A little bit better than the LCD Steam Deck, which I also tested in the description. You can find it, and in the pinned comment. Anyway, let me show you how it looks on the smaller screen. Alright, we're back now in handheld mode, which again this is locked to 16:9. And by that you can see the black bars at the top and bottom, less noticeable on the OLED because it turns off those pixels, but something to keep in mind. So again, what's my advice for this one? Lock it to 45. It's that simple. Because it won't stay here into the 50s across the board. So we go to the frame limit and we put it at 45, which feels pretty good on the smaller screen. At least in my opinion, on a smaller screen, it's okay. So yeah. Anyway, let me heal myself. There we go. And focus trust. But it feels good to play like this, and when it comes to battery life, probably around 2.5 hours. It feels pretty good to play like this, in my opinion. It's not 30 FPS, not even close. We're way above it. We're now in the slums, which is more demanding. We're still locked to 45, but now I enabled HDR in the graphic settings, which allows you to put the brightness even higher to a stupid amount, or lowering that so you guys can see what's going on. As you can see here, we drop into the 40s. Why isn't this a big deal in my opinion? Well, this is not the norm. You're not always, well, first of all, you're not fighting in here, and second of all, you're just walking around, so I don't think it's a big deal. And this section is one of the reasons that I put textures on low. Otherwise, it'll be a pain in the ass. Also, those stutters, I don't know how to avoid them personally, but here I am. And we can play as Tifa as well. We need that retention time on YouTube. As you can see, in combat, we're getting 45. If I look at the slums from a distance over here, yeah, we're still good. So usually walking around though that slum is what dropped my frame rate before. So again, overall, I think 45 is what makes the most sense for this one, just for stability purposes. If you're on the LCD Steam Deck, I recommend you go for 40s instead of 45, just for stability reasons. This is a tiny bit faster than the LCD Steam Deck with faster memory, but that's about it. And you can enable HDR on this one. That looks okay. I wouldn't say it's night and day, but it works pretty well.
Deal with that. I got this.
Boom, reduced to atoms. So when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the next one, again, it was exclusively on PlayStation 5. Honestly, it looked pretty pixelated, especially if we're talking 60 FPS. So I'm interested in seeing how the Steam Deck handles it, if we can lower the settings further or just force a lower resolution. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to at least play it on Steam Deck, even if it's a much lower resolution, considering how it runs on PS5. I'm guessing it will be a good PC port. I mean, this one doesn't have a lot of options, unfortunately. It's pretty underwhelming when it comes to that. Then battery life, 2.5 hours, I would say, on the OLED. On the LCD, 1 hour and 90 minutes. Sorry, 1 hour and 30 minutes. That's my guess. I recommend Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Steam Deck. Yeah, definitely. Just lock it to 45, disable dynamic resolution using the mod that I left in the description. It's just dragging and dropping a folder and you're good to go. And once Rebirth comes out, you'll see me live testing this and see how it runs and how it looks. My only downside with this is that it has black bars at the top and bottom of the screen. Otherwise, you can enjoy it at 45 with drops in the slums into the upper 30s, which again, you're just walking around in there, so I don't think it's a big deal. Combat is more important, in my opinion. And yeah, not much else to say. That's Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Steam Deck OLED. Hopefully, again, Rebirth will be working properly. We'll see how it goes. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see ya next time. Bye, guys.